Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far, and another twist in the tale of this crazy saga we've been talking about these past few days of Huke being benched off of the Dallas Empire after their victory against the Paris Legion early last week on their Thursday matchup. Incredible scenes, another twist in the tale of this storyline, because a few days ago we were talking about, okay, exactly why is this the case? Crimsix coming out with an explanation. Yesterday we talked about maybe the explanation is different to what we expected, and now Huke is coming out with a response to the matter, effectively saying it is time for a new chapter, saying that really the relationship with this team maybe is broken down to the degree where his next step is going to be on another team. Which team could that potentially be? Intrigued to take your thoughts in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you are new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. First of all, thank you to Draftbuff for sponsoring today's video. Wanted to give a shout out to all these guys who came up phenomenal performance last week. Explosive Diarrhea dominated the standings last week in well, the CDL fantasy type stuff. If you guys want to get involved with this, feel free to do so down below. There's a 6,500 people or something in the fantasy draft royale at the present time. This was his team. I mean, 1 out of 6,457 incredible scenes. Insight, Simp, Chino, Assault, and Clinics, and Toronto is the other team. And what a squad that was that you put together last week, good sir. And well, this is the team I'm going with for this week. But I mean, of course, if you guys ever copy this, I've never won a single one of these, given there's so many people in there. So I would highly recommend choosing a different team to me. But Awakening, Simp, Formal, Hydra, and Clinics is what I'm going with this week. New York Subline as well, because Subliners, I believe, play the London guys and they play Seattle, so they in theory have an easier week this time around. But if you guys would like to get involved, pick some players that you think are going to do well, standard fantasy type stuff, get involved at the link below, and we'll continue extending our leads as the biggest draft royale in Draftbuff fantasy history. But 2 players that you probably don't want to be picking this week are, well, first of all, Huke obviously, and also Zer0 over at the, well, formerly of the Royal Ravens now. I feel so bad for him, man. I mean, it's been such a tough season for some of these guys, and as he says right here, big Bants supporter, my brother, retweets this one. Seems like, well, now Zer0 is officially a Toronto Ultra stan, because as well, we can see right here from Crone, looks like Zer0 has been released by the Royal Ravens. So as you can see in his header right here, he's now a Toronto Ultra band supporter, official Toronto Ultra fan. And I feel really bad, right? Because Zer0, like, if Zer0 had been able to get into the London team, and there's been some visa issues, right? Like the fact of getting a visa interview for a guy like Zer0 right now is pretty much impossible. Hydra, I'm pretty sure his visa was already in process, so he was able to complete that and get out to the States. Scraps was in a similar boat to him, but Zer0 found himself in a tough spot, couldn't get an interview, I'm pretty sure, to get a visa, and therefore has basically just been stuck in the UK. And it's just been really tough, because Zer0 could have been a player that really would have turned around that London team, I think. I think a team with him and Afro as well from the UK, getting him in could have been such a great option for them. And okay, they're releasing him. Who knows exactly what's going to happen here? I'm pretty sure the contracts aren't guaranteed anymore, maybe like they were before. So I think they can just be like, all right, we're kind of wasting money here paying him while he's on the bench, so let's just release him, and then if we want, we can sign him back next season possibly as well. So hopefully things fix themselves out and he can actually get up to the States at some point to play with this team, because I think that would be a massive, well, definitely what the Ravens need, to be honest. They need a squad that has a guy like Zer0 in certainly. And as he says right here, I tell you what, me and the CDL just do not mix. I swear to God, the last couple of years has certainly been pretty tough. For Zer0, I mean, in New York, actually, right at the start of last season on Modern Warfare, that doesn't work out. Then he joins London, comes top 4 at the World Championships, to be fair. But this season, he can't, unfortunately, get up to the States to make it work. Also, talking about the rest of the London team, thought this was kind of interesting. A few tweets from Zach Zadenya and also Paulex. Woke up feeling good, now I've lost full. Day is chalked, says Zed. Now, who really knows what's going on here? But then he continues at, well, this tweet from Paulex, absolutely mind blown, since deleted. So who really knows what's going on? I'm not necessarily sure if this is referring to the Zer0 stuff, because maybe that would be somewhat expected. That Zer0, I mean, he's not exactly getting out to the States anyway, unfortunately, so them releasing him for the time being kind of makes sense, all things considered. But then we get this from Zed, new profile pic, gets the anime profile picture in there, and Paulex actually did a very similar thing. He also tweeted out a very similar thing to what Zed did, and then he also tweets out, I think it's time for an anime FBI or something, because nothing else is working. So it's somewhat unclear what's going on right here. Potentially some other roster stuff happening behind the scenes. I mean, obviously London had a tough time last week. If they make another roster change, I would kind of be mind blown, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't be too surprised, because they made so many roster changes so far this season after the Royal Ravens already that, well, you wouldn't put it past them to change something up once again. But unfortunately, Zer0 isn't going to be able to find his way into that team. I think the Zer0, Afro, and, well, a couple of other guys could have been, well, such a great opportunity for that team. Unfortunately, it's not worked out so far this season. Let's look at exactly what Huke had to say last night. So a few days ago, we got the announcement from the Dallas Empire. We're benching Huke. I mean, unbelievable scenes, moving him to a reserve position, as they said, FeLo coming into the team. The really surprising thing about it to me was the fact that they done it after a victory, right? It didn't seem to me like they decided after the major, after coming third at the Stage 2 major and second at the first Stage 1 major where Huke was so good. Stage 2, he had a little bit of a fall off, and then at least, well, pure statistically, but I mean, Huke is still Huke, right? Like, he's still going to be putting up numbers much better than your average SMG in the league, certainly. So, okay, they decided to make the decision after a victory that they're going to bench Huke, put him to the bench, and it was just unbelievable scenes. But a few days later, we now get some explanations coming out. I mean, Crimsix starts talking about it, the fact that, all right, if you look at the minimap nameless, you'll see what I mean, or you'll see why we've made this change. And then there was an article yesterday from the Dallas News we discussed them saying effectively it was some sort of communication issue. They were lacking some comms when since Clayster left the team, and now FeLo's kind of trying to fill that gap that Huke couldn't be able to do. So regardless of the situation, we're kind of seeing some different stories all across the park, and this is what Huke has to say for his explanation, his side of things yesterday. To everyone sending hate to Dallas and my teammates, it was a team decision. The Augur's done nothing but work with me, got nothing but respect for everyone on the team, just didn't work out, and it is time to move on to a new chapter. This last part is, I think, the really interesting part, because a new chapter to me sounds like a different team, right? It sounds like the relationship with the team, for whatever reason, just a few months after the winning the World Championship, seems to have potentially completely collapsed. And it's tough to say exactly what could have happened behind the scenes here to make this happen, right? This is finally from TacticalRab Academy. Dear Huke, following email contains the tweet to post in regards to the roster drama of your benching. Please add the full stop at the end. Thank you for the chat string. Empire HR, Crimsix, well, shooting Huke in the back, or, stabbing him in the back maybe, for the whole situation that's gone down right here. So let's talk about exactly what potentially going to happen, because the crazy thing to me is, I mean, all this is speculation, right? We don't have a confirmation. Like, some of the teams often, they'll get their coaching staff to actually try and give some explanation as to why this change was made. And okay, so we see a few days ago Nameless saying, look, if you look at the minimap, it speaks for itself. That's what Crimsix had to say on the whole Huke benching. And you do have to wonder, after their victory up against the Paris Legion, did they go back and watch VOD for the night? That's what I would imagine they would do. They go back, they watch some VODs, and then maybe they find something that Huke did wrong, one of the routes that he took was wrong, or something like that. And then there's some sort of argument. Of course, this is all speculation, right? But I'm just wondering how it could even be the case that you drop someone like Huke after a victory. There's obviously, maybe there's some sort of disagreement, I don't really know. And they decide to part ways with Huke. And the question is, if that is the case, maybe Crimsix and Rambo or whatever decided, all right, yeah, let's move in a different direction here. Do they have too much pride to get Huke back at some point? Does Huke just feel like his time on the team is over? Maybe they have a good stage 3, who really knows? I mean, the problem is with Dallas, they're so talented that they're always going to be decent, right? They're never going to be terrible, I don't think, even with FeLo in the team, and FeLo's a great player, so I don't think there's any world really in which Dallas get significantly worse. I'm not really sure they have the same ceiling as they did when they have Huke in the team, certainly, but they probably don't get significantly worse, which means that they probably don't make a change from here, right? Who really knows? I mean, maybe they'll bring Huke back, and that's really the problem. He'll probably just be sat on the bench for quite a while now, but at the same time, Hastro has always had Huke's back, and of course we saw in that article yesterday, he didn't necessarily want to make this change, but the rest of the team said, yeah, this is the direction we want to move in. We think Huke is a limiting factor. Let's get rid of Huke. Let's put him to the bench. And Hastro, look, he definitely respects Huke a lot, definitely has a lot of, he's been with him for years, obviously, on the Envy organization and now into the Dallas Empire, winning the World Championship last year. So you can definitely see a world in which Huke, Hastro wants the best for Huke. At the end of the day, Hastro is a businessman. His contract, and I'm sure his buyout, is absolutely massive. So which team can actually afford to get Huke onto the team if they want to, if this whole next chapter stuff is actually, if it comes to fruition in reality. But just given this has had a few days to settle now, and Huke is coming out saying, look, I'm looking forward to my next chapter, that says to me that he does not think the relationship is going to be mended with the starting lineup of this team anytime soon. This I thought was pretty funny from Carl Clashes. Everyone said hate to Dallas and my teammates. The Augur's done nothing for everyone on the team. Us, it didn't work, and it's time to cap. That is, just absolutely phenomenal stuff I saw on the Reddit right there. And as Zer0 says, let me watch over you players. Two players that unfortunately do not find themselves remarkably with a spot in the CDL right now, at least a spot on the starting team. And you do have to wonder what teams could potentially benefit from Huke's services. I'm pretty sure it's the vast majority of teams in the league. There's certainly a couple of teams that you wouldn't expect to be changing anytime soon. FaZe and OpTic are the two that come to mind. But pretty much every other team in the league, I think, has to be at least considering, what about if we bring Huke into our team? What could he potentially do? Because I'm sure he has something, I'm certainly sure he has something to prove. And imagine Huke versus the Dallas Empire. I'm sure it'll happen at some point if he doesn't get put into that starting team. So you've got to think, that's going to be an absolute banger matchup when it does occur. Now, you're looking at a team like the Mutineers. You've got Big Wake on this squad, but the SMG line on that team has been somewhat inconsistent at times. You can imagine a world where Huke comes into this team alongside, Awakening and Huke already as your kind of flex SMG duo is absolutely deadly. Got Neptune there as well. Maybe you bring in Huke for Havoc or something. I don't really know. I'm not really sure the Mutineers have the cash to make this buyout happen, and that really is unfortunately the question mark right here of a lot of these teams. How many of these squads actually have the facilities, actually have the resources to make this stuff work? Because there's only a few teams you can really look at right here. I think this is a realistic possibility. One of them is potentially the Mutineers. You've got Huke obviously on the bench of the Dallas Empire. FaZe aren't going to be making a change. OpTic aren't going to be making a change. But pretty much all the other teams have got to be thinking about it. A team like LA Thieves, is this a long-term squad that they're going to be going with on their team? If they lose a couple of series, let's say they go throughout stage 3, maybe they come like top 6 of the major again or something, that's not necessarily, you know, championship tier caliber. Therefore, are they thinking, all right, Huke, is he an option? Let's just, well, ring up Hastro and see if we can come to some sort of arrangement. Because whatever Huke's buyout is, and I am sure it's massive, I'm sure that Hastro wants the best for Huke, and in the same way that Clayster, like, you know, they dealt with Clayster pretty quickly. They got Clayster onto New York where he wanted to go relatively quickly, despite, you know, they could have asked for massive money or made it really difficult for someone to buy a Clayster out of the contract that he had with the Empire. You know, maybe Hastro thinks a similar thing, right? If it is time for Huke to move on, and it is like the next chapter that he's talking about, then okay, maybe we'll just make the negotiations pretty straightforward, and obviously the cash will be massive, but yeah, maybe we can recoup some of the money that we had to pay for Shotzzy's buyout just a couple of years ago. So Los Angeles Thieves could be an option. LAG, I'm not really sure. London, certainly not, I'd imagine. Minnesota Rokkr could be considering it as well. I think the Rokkr probably want to stick, but at the end of the day, if Huke is an option on the free agency market, well, it's very tough to pass up. Subliners probably in a similar boat. I mean, you're thinking in a world where, you know, minus Mac plus Huke, I mean, that could be a squad, getting Clayster and Huke back together. I mean, Paris Legion, I doubt it's going to happen there. Seattle Surge is another one to consider as well, right? Because you look at Seattle, and we were talking about, all right, if we have to make a change for Loony, in theory, who do we bring in instead? Maybe Vivid could be a good option. Huke, I mean, imagine Huke on this team at Octane, Gunless, Prestinni, and Huke. That could be a monstrous team because you'll have Huke basically running the main AR, or the main SMG, and Prestinni being the support player in the role where it tends to actually be his best with Prestinni, and then Octane and Gunless on the ARs. I mean, honestly, that could be a deadly one, and well, Toronto Ultra, I doubt they're making a change anytime soon, given they are dominating the league at the present time. So, real interesting stuff. I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below, certainly. Thought this is pretty interesting as well from Route 11 stats. The 3 S&D sites with the lowest win percentage in the league. So still, the lowest win percentage is actually 51% over at the Moscow B site. The A site on Moscow has a 72% win rate, so pretty much you just want to be going A on this map in general. Express B has a 55% and Checkmate B has a 57% as well, so pretty interesting to see what you guys, well, which bomb sites you guys should be favouring in league play, certainly. And well, given we were talking about Florida and the potential of Huke coming alongside Neptune and Awakening, I don't really know if this is going to happen, but if it did happen, it'd be, well, honestly, the amount of talent in the league that is, well, first of all, in the league, and second of all, actually not in the league, sitting on the bench or whatever, is absolutely incredible. And I mean, I'm sure Huke's going to find his way into a team, but this is the thing, right? Like, next season, let's say, like, he just sticks on the bench for the rest of the season. We go to the World Championship this year. Huke's not playing at Champs, which, I mean, that would be remarkable, first of all. But then you've also got to consider next season, like, if they don't bring him back, do they let him go? Does he go somewhere else? Do we need expansion to get Huke back in the league? I mean, I kind of doubt it, but I don't really know. That there's so many questions about this. I'm sure it's going to be a topic which is going to be, well, fresh in the minds for the coming days at the very least. But intrigued to get your thoughts in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. It really helps out these because I know you enjoyed this content. Other people like you may enjoy this content as well. And I've grown the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always. Take care. And I will see you next time.